notification requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Announcement of this meeting date in place on April 19th, 2024 in the following manner. Posting of the public notice on the posting board for the Board of Education in the Administration Building. Email notification to the newspapers serving Piscataway, the Home News Tribune, and the Courier News. Email notification filed with the municipal clerk at the municipal building on Hose Lane. The meeting is being videotaped. This recording is not an official record or supplement to the minutes and is intended only as a source of information that the public might utilize at a later date to familiarize themselves with the board's activities. Item 3 is executive session. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're in executive session.
just knocked, he was able to just walk off. Right, and she like ran over his bike.
So much traffic, we find that there's a motorcycle, see there.
Yep.
Good, Steven?
Item 4, public session, a motion to go back to public session.
Motion.
All's in favor?
Aye. Seconded, Tom. Anybody else here?
Who seconded it?
You did.
I did? Okay, good. Item 5 is student presentation. Obviously, we're not doing that. Item 6 is student representative report. Not doing that. And item 7 is president's report. And I will do that in place of Chantel Cherry. So the President's Report for August 8th, 2024 is I hope that all of our families and staff have been taking the time to enjoy their summer as we prepare for an exciting 24-25 school year. The Piscataway Summer Camp will be wrapping up another successful program next week. Our children in grades pre-K through 8 have had a great fun that included art competitions and pool time, plus wonderful trips to Sesame Place, Tomahawk Lake, Philadelphia Zoo, Dave and Buster's, Chuck E. Cheese, Liberty Science Center, Von Fun's Farm, Jenkinson's Aquarium, and more. And we're thrilled that the Community Education Office is able to offer these great experiences to our students each year. As we draw closer to the start of another school year, our athletes are about to start hitting the fields for their first practices in anticipation of a successful fall sports season. The Piscataway High School football team begins practices next Monday, August 12th, with their opening game scheduled for Friday, August 30th at home against Manalapan. The rest of our Piscataway High School sports teams and the Super Chiefs marching band, along with the middle school football, begin practices on August 19th. The rest of our middle school sports will get underway on August 29th. Best of luck to all our coaches and students as they work hard to get ready for the fall. And that is the President's report. Next on the agenda is the Superintendent's report. Dr. Baskerville.
Yes, good evening again, everyone. On behalf of our Superintendent, Dr. Rinelli, and our administration, I want to say that I hope all of our students, families, and teachers are enjoying their summer break, taking time to rest, have some fun, and recharge their batteries for the upcoming school year. Our principals, supervisors, administrative team, and custodians have been working hard throughout the summer to ensure that all of our schools are ready to hit the ground running in September. As a reminder, our teachers return on September the 3rd, followed by our students' first day of school on Wednesday, September 4th. We look forward to a successful 2024-2025 school year. At this time, I'm going to do curriculum updates. This came home, board members, in your CSO packet. I also left a copy at your tables now for you. Essentially, this was done on Monday at the curriculum committee meeting, and we went over all of these. We had 8 curricular genres, 8 disciplines with 48 different curricular offerings that were updated. And I want to first say we want to thank our supervisors for the great work that they have done, along with our teachers. So our teachers work closely with our supervisors to do the curriculum updates, and we really give kudos to our teachers for the expertise that they have in these various sections. I'm not going to go over because also you will find the same thing on page 11 of your agenda. So I'm not going to go over each and every curriculum item that went into detail at the curriculum committee meeting, but I'm going to go to actually the last page, the common themes of the presentation, which I think is vitally important that we understand. And there are several common themes that run throughout all of curriculum, and one of them is, of course, is standards alignment, and I'm happy to say that at this time, all Piscataway curriculum is currently updated to the standards, so we are in alignment with all standards in all of our curriculum. The integration of 21st century learning skills through the New Jersey Student Learning Standards 9. We have finally integrated the 21st century into all of our curriculum, which essentially such things as systemic thinking, being able to work collaboratively and using technology within the curricular items, and workplace readiness. We integrated accommodations and modifications for special ed students, ELLs, GNT, and students at risk and 504 plans. Those things have been integrated into the curriculum and discrete items where you can actually find them, so you don't have to go outside of the curriculum for those things. And we think that that is a wonderful highlight. We have specific lessons for Amistad, the Holocaust, LGBTQ, and AAPI. We have very discrete, separate lessons for them inside the curriculum. Instead of having references, we have actual lessons. And you can also find that on our crosswalk. So we have a crosswalk document that's posted under curriculum and instruction where you can go directly there and you can see at the appropriate grade levels what's taught and then where those lessons can be found. And it's a wonderful document. It's a very good, quick reference to that. Assessments, including formative, summative, benchmark, and alternative assessments, have been embedded into the curriculum as opposed to having assessments separate outside of the curriculum. You can find assessments inside the curriculum itself. And that was another way where we can kind of standardize assessment across the district if assessments are actually in the curriculum, that everybody's doing those actual same assessments. Interdisciplinary connections, we know that curriculum does not live in a silo. We know that ELA, you can see social studies in ELA, you can see ELA in social studies, you can see math and science and math. So we have interdisciplinary connections within our curriculum maps that is outlined, so you can actually go there to see those things. Career education, and by the way, some of these things were mandated by the state, and when we did CUSAC, we actually came up with a template that they're using across Middlesex County. So I would like to just take the time also to say that the template that we use for lesson planning is also being used by other schools across Middlesex County, because the county superintendent's office thought that the way we were doing that was a very good way to just delineate all those type of things. Career education, computer science and design thinking, climate change, which is mandated, technology integration, which is compatible with our student devices, pacing guidelines that focus on key concepts and skills. We're looking at actual breadth as well as depth, and we're looking at key concepts and pacing where you know exactly where those key concepts are taught and how long they need to be taught. Inquiry-based and project-based learning, emphasizing critical thinking and problem solving. Inclusion of, and we really are proud of this, multi-tiered systems of support, MTSS, is actually built into the curriculum with also academic and social emotional supports. So we actually have those things built into the curriculum as well. Real world connections and applications, because we want to make connections from not just learning something in the classroom, but able to apply it in the actual real world. So we're not here for learning's sake, but to make students' lives a lot better so they could just take the things that they learn in the classroom and take it into the real world. Differentiation of content, process, and product. Discrete opportunities for diversity and inclusion are actually built into the curriculum itself in separate headings, so you can actually go find out where that is. Social awareness and connections with current events. Our students need to know what's going on in the world. And what we are doing is we have our current events that are being taught in our classes. Don't lean to any one side, not trying to indoctrinate our students in any way. Just making sure that our students are aware of the current events and the issues that are out here. Addition of relevant resource materials, including e-text, and we have aligned with College Board expectations for AP exams at the high school. So we actually just giving students so that when they take the AP exams, the format and the things that we're doing in our classrooms mirror what is happening on the AP exams. And that is the conclusion of my part on curriculum and instruction updates. We look forward to another real good year of learning in Piscataway. At this time, we're going to ask Dr. Gray if he will come, Ms. Williams, with Rutgers Future Scholars updates.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to stand before you this evening. Before I introduce Kim Williams, I met Mrs. Williams years ago as a school counselor at Quibbletown Middle School when all the counselors were brought together to learn about a program called Rutgers Future Scholars. I forget how many years ago that was. I'm sure Kim will remind us, but I'm proud to say that many years later, not only did we begin participating, but we have numbers of students who have successfully matriculated through Rutgers Future Scholars. The oldest children, who were once children in 7th grade, are now adults out in the workforce, college graduates. And so we thought it was appropriate to have Ms. Williams, who was part of the program at that time, who is now the director of Rutgers Future Scholars, to come give an update about those students from Piscataway who have matriculated through our program, the history of our program, our relationship with Rutgers Future Scholars, and even the current students who are still in the program to this date. So without further ado, Ms. Williams is not only the director of the program, she is a proud Piscataway parent, Her daughter graduated last year, so a special relationship. I know that she works with a number of communities, but I'm going to say that her favorite is Piscataway. I know she can't say it, but I'm sure she loves her Piscataway scholars. So without further ado, Mrs. Williams.
Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction.
Just take her picture.
Wonderful.
Then I'll be out of your way. Thank you.
Great, great. He said just about all I was going to say when I opened up. I wanted to say that I stand before you today as a resident of Piscataway and a proud parent of a graduate of the Piscataway High School, Kayla Williams. She graduated last year from Piscataway High School, and she was admitted to Cornell University as a transfer option. And so she went to Rutgers, which is my alma mater. So me and my husband's alma mater, we had her on campus last year for 1 year at Rutgers, and we were happy, but we're elated that she has the opportunity to go to the school of her dreams. She wants to be a veterinarian, and what school is best for that than Cornell? So not only do I stand here in that role, but the role that I'm really proud about, and I'm humbled that I have the honor to be the director, is of the director of Rutgers Future Scholars. We started Rutgers Future Scholars in 2008, and at that time, we didn't even have the buy-in from Piscataway just yet. The President McCormick back then said, hey, I want to do this program, and we're going to start it up in a couple of months. And what happened was we came out, and back then I think the superintendent was Robert Copeland, and we got him to buy into it. We had to go to the city of New Brunswick and get Mary Egan, who was the superintendent there, on board. We had to go to Camden, we had to go to Newark. So we're very thankful that we got the buy-in, because at that time we had no statistics. There was no data to say whether this was going to work. And as you all know, many Rutgers programs comes out to the district and want to offer some services, and I thank you for being diligent on who you allow to have access to the students in Piscataway, and I thank you for allowing us to have that access. I want to thank President Cherry, Chantel Cherry, and the members of the board for having me here today. I would also like to thank Dr. Ranelli, because he believed in the program when he first started his tenure as superintendent. We were one of the first meetings that he had, and we came in and we were able to share about the program, and he gave us his full support. I would also like to thank all of the staff at the middle schools and high schools. One thing about Piscataway, there's very low turnover in your district. And the reason why I know is because I've worked with all of the staff members over the years. None of them have changed. I can tell you all the middle school counselors, Ms. Patel, Ms. Husbands, and Dr. Rogers. We've worked with them since 2008. No turnover. In some of the other districts, we have to go in and retrain and teach them about RFS and the impact of it. So I thank you for the support that you provide us. Dr. Gray was at Quibbletown Middle School. He was very involved in the first couple of cohorts. And so it's so great to see that he went on to be principal, and now he's assistant superintendent. So I thank you for what you're doing here in Piscataway. In 2008, the RFS program began, and it was the first of its kind. A program that enrolls promising first-generation, low-income students beginning in the 7th grade, creating a pipeline of academic and social enrichment and support and mentoring support throughout their middle schools and high schools, and then promising them free tuition if they get admitted to Rutgers. No other institution was doing this, but you guys said yes. So thank you for allowing us to have your children once again. In the beginning, we put great focus on getting kids to college, So the term pre-college, we were a pre-college program. But soon as kids got on campus, we then realized really quickly that we had to be more than that. We had to get them through college. And so not only do we provide pre-college support, but we provide support throughout the undergrad years, especially at Rutgers. But if they don't come to Rutgers, we still provide support to them. Today, RFS has witnessed the journey of over 3,500 young lives throughout the state of New Jersey. And our motto is once a scholar, always a scholar. So they become a part of a family at the very beginning of our program, and so they never leave us. They may graduate and go on, but from time to time I get phone calls on my cell phone, and it's a kid that's graduated. This year, they're probably the age of 29. So from the first cohort, they're 29 years old. And to this day, they will call me and say, Ms. Kim, I've got an offer letter for a job. I don't know if I should take it. Could you look at it? Could you help me figure out how do I do the next step? And so it's with pride that I call them back. Sure, I can help you. Let's set up a Zoom. Let's get together. So they never leave us in our program. So we serve the Newark community, Camden community, New Brunswick, Piscataway, and Rahway. We work in over 110 schools. So yes, we start in the districts, but if a kid goes out from Piscataway and goes to another school district, our motto is once a scholar, always a scholar. So what we do is we stay connected with that student. We would like for them to come to our summer programs. And during the academic year, one thing we learned from COVID, use Zoom. Use Zoom to stay connected. And that's what we do. If they moved out of the district, we stay connected with them. Our students that are here in Piscataway during our summer programs, every year we have a summer program that they're required to come to. They're required to participate in mentoring during the year. But in the summers when they come, our students here on the Piscataway campus, they're actually earning early college credits. So many of our scholars are coming into Rutgers, those who get into Rutgers, with credits in their back pockets. And they never have to pay for a thing. So we start with them in 7th grade, lead them up through 12th grade, and if they get admitted into Rutgers, then they're with us for another 4 or 5 years. On average, 90% of each graduating class go on to attend 2-year and 4-year institutions. So each year we enroll 50 Piscataway students. So our cohort is 50 students that will graduate. So when they graduate in senior year, about 90% of them are going on to higher education. 54% of them are being admitted to Rutgers. So each year we have a good group of Piscataway students that are on campus. And our 6-year graduation rate for students who are first generation low income is 70% compared to the national average of approximately 60, which has actually reduced to 42% just recently. And that's due most likely to COVID, which we're actually doing an assessment right now. We're kind of doing an assessment on the impacts of COVID. And so that's a whole audit that we're doing. And so I'm hoping to be able to share some updated information once we do that. I just want to share a couple of things, some of the top majors that our Piscataway students are taking. Many of them are majoring in the health professions, criminal justice, engineering, and psychology. So those are the most widely. And then after that, you have some of the nursing, because we've got quite a bit of nurses here in Piscataway. I had one with me 2 months ago that was going to speak. And I'm sorry, tonight she is on rotation, so she can't be with us. But she hails from Piscataway, and that's Michelle Wafulame. While at Rutgers, undergrad scholars have the unique opportunity to take our mentoring course. We have a 3-credit college credit course where our students are able to take, if they get admitted to Rutgers and they're undergrads at Rutgers, they can take that course and get 3 college credits to go into Piscataway and provide mentorship. And so if you're at the high school Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, you will see our Rutgers Future Scholars there afterwards. And that's because you have allowed us to be in the schools. So we meet the kids where they are. So after schools, we'll have our 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and they're at the high school, and we're providing mentorship. And who's providing that? Near peers. So kids that are just slightly a couple of years older than them, because as parents, we like to think we know what's best for our kids, but it's when they hear it from someone else, and then when they're hearing it from somebody that's close in age, it matters most. So we have post-graduation, some of the employment, places of employment, law enforcement, nursing, engineering, and this is for Piscataway, social work, information technology. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. And some companies that our scholars are working, we have Google, and that's Jonathan Zalea. Is it okay if I mention names? I'm so proud of them because I've worked with them for so long. Emmanuel Ba, he is a software engineer for Google. And his brother, who is also a future scholar, Seth Ba, is a software engineer at Google. He was on the West Coast just recently, and Emmanuel worked on the East Coast, but now he's come over, and so they're all together as one family, but working for Google. Arpit Shah, he's working for Bloomberg. We have many members who are at Ernst & Young, which is actually a donor to our program. We have students who are in grad school. Actually, we're so excited. Chelsea Wong, many of you may know her. She just graduated from Boston Law School, and she's just nonstop. We're so proud of her. We have Kiamsha Bynes. Many of you may know that family. We have many of them that are part of the Future Scholars Program. Kiamsha just came on campus, and she's about to finish her PhD. She did not go to Rutgers undergrad, but once a scholar, always a scholar. And so she reached out as soon as she was going to be on campus. And we thought maybe we'd have to try to find a scholarship or something for her, but she came with a full scholarship. So that's Ms. Kiamsha Bynes. Brielle Garrell, and I'm closing. Brielle Garrell, she just started her PhD. She graduated from Rutgers, and she's working on her PhD in Maryland, and she's on a presidential scholarship. And these are all Piscataway students. One more, Brianna Rosa. I tried to get her here tonight, but she wasn't able to be here. But we were able to send her to Greece. That's another opportunity that we do. We have donor funds, and we're able to support students with study abroad opportunities. And Brianna Rosa just came back from Greece a couple of months ago, and she's continuing her education at Rutgers in the master's program for human resource management, and she's got a full scholarship. In the beginning, we knew this movement was not just for youth here in the state of New Jersey. We knew that there were other future scholars and other youth out there that needed something like this. And so with that said, I'm happy to share that RFS has been a model program for other institutions. The first one was James Madison University, University of Michigan. We went international. So University of Toronto has a Future Scholars Program. And just recently, the Louisiana State University has just started their Future Scholars Program. It's a program that works, but it's a program that gives hope and opportunity for kids who are brilliant, smart and intelligent, and we're just allowed to be alongside the journey with them, and so we so appreciate that. And so I was hoping to bring a student with me, but Michelle Wafulume sends her best. She is right now working as a nurse, and she says sorry that she can't be here, but hopefully at another opportunity we can have her come and join us. But that's a brief update for me, for Future Scholars, and just want to say thank you again for believing in our program and for entrusting us with your children.
We want to thank you for being here tonight and giving us the update. My first year on the Piscataway Board of Education was 2008.
Okay.
And we got a update on Rutgers Future Scholars a few years in. And most recently, I was in a conversation with Dr. Ranelli, and I said, you know, with new board members, let's get another update. This is actually a brochure from
Oh, my goodness.
2013 in a folder that I keep. But even before this, we were talking, some of us board members, and we were talking about college and how much it costs, et cetera. One thing that always sticks out with me, and this is a report from 2016, but in 2016, the tuition that had been given to Piscataway students was over $1.1 million. So think of all that money that with your foresight and Rutgers foresight that the kids have benefited from. And then I just think it's great, you know, especially if you're identified back down to 7th grade and you know, your parents eventually may not have the financial means, and look where it can take you. And so thank you so much for giving us the update, and it's an inspirational program, and thanks a lot.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Ms. Williams, we thank you. And you have risen through the ranks, and I think that you are an excellent person
Thank
to
you.
stand at the advance guard of Rutgers Future Scholars.
Thank you.
I also remember when we were together in Grandview,
Yes, my daughter went to Grandview.
and your daughter, I'm not surprised about the success that she is having now. So can you please tell her that Mr. B is proud of her?
I will,
And
thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is our transition to a New Jersey Graduate Proficiency Assessment. David, can you get the... We have to actually report out separately now, because there once was a time where we could in October give one presentation for all assessments that took place, but now it has changed where we have to break out in August the graduate proficiency assessment, and so we're making our deadline tonight, and I'm happy and proud to say that because I wanted to make sure that we actually met the deadline. GPA, graduate proficiency assessment, is the assessment that's required for graduation out of high schools in New Jersey. And you can see here on May the 3rd, 2003, they actually did new cut scores and set up the components of the ELA and math assessment. And the ELA components, they are aligned to the grade 10 standards. The math component is aligned to Algebra 1 and the geometry standards. This is a little small, but you can see they changed the cut scores because originally when it came out, there was a cut score for ELA and a cut score for math. So now it's been changed where one cut scores of 725. At or above 725 is the proficiency rate that you must meet on the test for ELA and for math. Right now, if you complete the GPA and you hit those targets, then you're fine. But if not, there are some alternative measures, and I'll go over them in a minute with you. No dates have been given for the fall assessment as of yet. We all are waiting for the dates. We know that it will be in October, but we don't know the exact dates because the state has not released the dates for the fall administration 2024 as of now. The current requirements are for the class of 2025, and no further information has been provided other than that. So we know what the requirements are, but if the actual dates in the fall, we don't have those dates as of today. So the first pathway to graduation is you pass the test. And you take the test in the 11th grade, and if you pass it, then that's the first requirement, along, of course, with your coursework in the high school. A second pathway is that you can see outlined here. And the second pathway, it demonstrates that essentially you can do one of these things in ELA and one in math. You could take the ACT reading, the Accuplacer, PSAT, SAT, all those things that you can take in place of passing the actual exam, and you can do the same criteria in math. But in order for you to take a second pathway, you must have taken the test first, and then. Now, here's the thing that we also look at what's going on, is that there's no order. So, for example, you could take a second pathway first, and then take the test, and if you fail the test, you can still use a score that's taken from the second pathway. And the third pathway is the portfolio appeal, which will take place October the 8th through May 15th. In front of you, you can see, you all have this handout at your seats. I'm getting into the actual, and we did pretty good with this. I'm very proud of the work that we have done with this. You can see that right now, this year, in red is last year, the previous year is listed in red, and black is the current year. This year, 83% of our students are graduation ready according to this test. So 83% are graduation ready versus 82% of the state, which is statistically around the same thing.
Dr. Baskerville, is this,
Yeah.
was it a couple of years ago, the State Board of Education, there's a controversy because they lowered the cut score?
Yes,
So was it both, or was it just for math?
both.
So these are based on the lower cut score?
No, these are the recent cut scores.
Recent cut scores.
Yes. And we also see here that in math, we did 59%, state did 55. You see in the red. So last year, we were at 81 and 81 in ELA. Last year, we were at 59 and 59 in math this year. But the state was at 55, so we were outperforming the state last year. And if you look at all students where you just put together the aggregate between the ELA and the math score, last year we were at 70%, this year we were at 71%. The state stayed the same, so we are essentially around the same place that we were on last year. But this is where I really want to show you what's going on in Piscataway as well. So according to the GPA, 59% of our students are ready by the state on the math test, and 83% are ready by the state for ELA. Out of the 539 students that took the test, 59% in math are graduation ready and 83%. However, we need to understand that if you factor in the graduation, the other pathways that they could take, there were 98 students who have already passed the second pathway in math, and we have 15 students who have already passed the second pathway in ELA. So if you mix those and combine those together, currently where we are now is we have 414 students out of the 539 who are eligible who are graduation ready, or 77% in math, and 86 or 464 students in ELA, if you combine those two together. Any questions with there? Because we keep a careful watch on that, and so right now we are watching those numbers to make sure that those students who we need to capture, another 23% in math and another 14%, and we know exactly who those students are. This is real small. If you look at the subgroup data, we start breaking it down by race. I focused in primarily, if you see in red on the left-hand side, the three major, as far as numbers are concerned, the three largest demographic groups in this particular class make up 85% of the 11th grade class now going to grade 12. And so you see the Asian population, they had if you go all the way over to the right, graduation ready. Last year was 91%, this year 94% are currently graduation ready as of this particular test, not factoring in the second pathways. We see that 75% of African Americans are graduation ready, not factoring in the other aspect of the test. Last year it was 71. And we see that 81% of our students this year currently now are graduation ready versus 74% from last year. So you see that as we look at disproportionality and we look at how we're trying to pull up all disparate groups, we see that we've grown in the Asian, the Black, and the Hispanic communities by 91, 71, and 74% based on this test alone.
Now, the reason I ask is I'm just trying to, in my mind, is controversy. So the controversy was that if you lower the cut scores in math, the lowest minimum like math course that they would have to pass would be Algebra 1.
Yes.
Is that still the case?
Yes, that's still, because if you go back and look at the slides that I originally gave you, the test itself.
The minimum math.
So I think a better way to look at it would be to look at the standards, not the necessarily score. So if you look at, going back, you will see on the second page, that the math component is aligned to Algebra 1 and geometry standards. So they're aligned to the standards. If you see back to page where we have the subgroup race, if you look at the math, same thing we see there. All the way over to the right side, we see that last year 80% of our Asian population was proficient. This year is 86%. Last year 38% of the Black were African American were proficient according to this test. This year was 41, and Hispanic 41%. This year was 43%. So we see gains in all. Also, I want to add, if you look down at the bottom, last year we had 980 students take the test. This year we had 1,078 students take the test. And so we looked at what accounted for this, and then it was simply this. We went into Genesis and we looked at the class from last year. Is that the previous class that went over to this current year, they were 10th graders, and now they became 11th graders. That was a larger class, and that takes up for larger numbers. Most of the time, when there's an inverse or opposite relationship between, a lot of times, enrollment coming into the district and proficiency rates. So a lot of times when you have a large enrollment coming into the district, especially at the high school and the testing grades, it doesn't always translate to a higher proficiency, but lower. But here we see higher proficiency is because these kids have been sitting in our schools. And so a lot of the kids are not new to Piscataway themselves. If you go over to subgroup by gender, ELA 87% last year of our females. This year 88%, statistically around the same. Males last year 77%, this year 79%, statistically the same. And if you just go down and just look at where we are statistically, we're basically hovering around the same thing, even though we have more students that took the test. The next page is a good example where you can just see another visual of a distribution level of achievement on all subjects. 73% for the females and 69% for the males. Following that, you look at program. Interesting here is the free and reduced lunch, and I had a conversation with Mr. David Oliveira about this today as well. We see last year that we had 93 students tested. This year, 174. So we went from 93 students tested to 174 who were on free and reduced lunch. But if you go over and look at the proficiency rate, last year was 67%. This year, 79% of the students on free and reduced lunch. And one of the main reasons why we see that is because of our Title I tutorial programs and the enrichment programs that we use to try to bolster those students and give them more opportunities on task. So we can see that. Also, you can see highlighted our English language learners. Last year we had 25, this year we had 22. Last year was 56%, this year was 50%. But you can see it is only off by a number of students by about 3 or 4 students. And we can look at also our SPED students. And we want to look at how we are increasing. Last year, our special education students were 29%, and this year they were 36%. So we're looking at how we are focusing more, and you can see one of our district goals is focusing on our ELL and our special education students. Following is just a nice visual for you, a distribution level of the various programs and how well the students did. And every data presentation has to be coupled by the state with some type of plan of action. Piscataway High School has a plan of action that they're taking all students registered to a Schoology course where all pathway assessment information will be located. So every student has a Schoology course where they will have all of this information in that particular Schoology course. Sessions to administer the AccuPlacer will be held. AccuPlacer is an assessment by the College Board, Math QAS, the qualitative reasoning, algebra, and statistics, English Right Placer. We also have a ESL English Right Placer, student study guides. All these things are given opportunities for students to take multiple assessments. Also, a plan of action will take place. These are the dates that we have established already. On Wednesday, August the 20th, the 21st, Thursday the 22nd, Monday the 26th, and Thursday the 27th. We will have AccuPlacer taking place at these sessions. What we will be doing is we will do a quick review with the students. Will be held in the Patton. Students will come in, do a quick refresher and a quick review, and then they will be allowed to take the test while they are there. The results are instantaneous, so they get that information back, and they can take the test multiple times. And so we have staff that will be with the students to take it on this day. On October the 8th, which is also a PSAT day, we will also give another AccuPlacer test on October the 8th, so that the students who are coming in for the PSAT, we can actually also give it to them on that day as well. Any questions?
Who are the students that come in for the AccuPlacer test?
I'm sorry?
Which are the students that come in for the AccuPlacer?
The students normally who are coming in for the AccuPlacer are the students who need another pathway.
Okay.
And so what has started happening, and we're trying to look at how we're going to deal with this, because a lot of times the students would rather take the pathway than to take the actual GPA themselves. So they know now that they can actually take the pathway. And so they basically just don't take the GPA as serious as they need to take it. So we're looking at now at ways to make sure that they just look at that and just realize how important taking the GPA is, as opposed to just relying on being able to take an alternative pathway. Thank you.
Make sure they eat and they had plenty of rest.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Baskerville. That was item 8, superintendent's report. So we're going to move on to item 9, which is personnel and labor relations. Ms. Rashid,
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as A through G be approved as presented.
could you
Second?
second? Please call the roll.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Committee reports. You just gave me. Oh, here it is. I believe only 2 committees met since our July 11th meeting. One of the committees I chair, which is the Fiscal Plannings and Operations Committee, so I'll read that.
We didn't meet.
We didn't meet? Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. You're right, you were on vacation. 2 committees met, Policy and Legislative Committee and the Curriculum Committee. I was at the Curriculum Committee meeting, and I was at the Policy meeting, but I'm not going to read both of these because we're a board of committees. And so let's do it this way. I'll read the Curriculum Committee, and then I'll ask Loretta to read the Policy and Legislative Committee. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll go first. The Curriculum Committee met August 5th to discuss curriculum guides and screening for gifted and talented programs. Gifted and talented screening. The district will begin to use of the COG-AT screener this school year as a more robust way of evaluating and identifying students for the gifted and talented program. Further implementation will continue in 2025-26. Dr. Baskerville has visited several schools in Middlesex County to gain additional information on gifted and talented programs. This was a great meeting, by the way. See, he was actually summarizing. I love that the August meeting where you do the curriculum guide updates with the New Jersey standards, and all of the supervisors of high school go through it. It's always a great meeting. So maths grade 1 through 6. Rebecca Dayton curriculum has been revised to reflect pending new standards. Measurement and data literacy are split up. Changes in money have been added to K to 1. Grade 5 will emphasize data literacy. that's actually a topic money. Math grades 7 to 12, Frank Wroblewski, curriculum has been updated for new standards. High school standards are designed as plus standards. The state moved from algebra standards down to 8th grade. Visual and Performing Arts, Rebecca Strelacki, minor updates were made to course structures for Prescott High School choir and dance courses, and students' supports and curriculum connections were highlighted. Career and Technical Education, Robin Kay, she talked about junior achievement. Junior achievement curriculum has been added on recommendation of the state due to its alignment to standards. Engineering students get dual credit. Project Lead the Way, as national curriculum. This is the industry standard for high school engineering. The administration is recommending a name change for the co-op course to be called Workforce Readiness. The administration has met with Middlesex County Workforce Development to ensure students are learning content area knowledge, professionalism, and critical thinking. Engineering design and development is now called the Project Lead the Way capstone course. Ms. Kay shared about the professionals that visit regularly to work with students. The administration has an agreement with the Rochester Institute of Technology for students to get credit transferable to any college with an engineering program. And Piscataway also has a partnership with Rutgers School of Engineering. Also in here, it's actually linked with our energy savings improvement program. Part of the picking the contract for Honeywell is Honeywell actually sends us, the engineers, to the high school and shows students, the engineering students, the kinds of things we're actually doing at the high school to get our energy savings. So it's pretty cool. Social Studies 9 through 12. James Knox, minor curriculum updates were made to psychology, AP World History, AP US Government. Piscataway High School has some new teachers in these courses, and they helped update the curriculum, highlighting cross-curricular connections, student leadership, and student supports. US 2 Econ will be changed to an honors course. Piscataway High School Language Arts, Scott Hood, course revisions were driven by revised standards, feedback from students, and accessibility, making courses available to 11th and 12th graders to provide as many pathways to the curriculum as possible. Mythology and composition takes a more global approach to make this course different from other English classes. Race and gender in literature is more media savvy, building connections for students that are looking to pursue race and gender studies beyond high school. Diversity of literature has been added. Speculation in literature focuses on how to connect to a future that hasn't been lived yet, connecting current events, technology, and society. K through 8 language arts, Janine Albanese, the changes in these standards are aligned in reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language, with a very explicit teaching of reading and a more inclusive standard for all students. This is a specific curriculum for accelerated literacy in grades 7 to 8 and more dialogue between 8th and 9th grade teachers. Health and physical education, Dr. Basquill, health shifts from textbooks to tech book on student iPads. These align with the NJSLS and will update as needed. All of this will be housed inside a Schoology group. Family letters for each chapter will be available in English and Spanish, and PowerPoints will be available. It aligns with all students, and integration in Schoology will make things seamless for students and families. World language and ESL, Glendisha Gerando Moran, 10 curricula updated to improve articulation between grade levels. All curriculum is uniform in grades 1 through 12. Grades 1 through 8 is acquisition-driven instruction. Students are using the language in a way they can understand. The curriculum is culture-driven, and students have opportunities to learn about Spanish culture all over the world. Freshman seminar, Noel, April. Freshman seminar mentor courses have some light updating based on feedback from students and teachers, classroom observations, and focus groups. Additional media literacy, mental health lessons were added. Social awareness lessons were adjusted. A pacing guide was added for community services, and a mentor guide has been updated with clear expectation of a planning template was added to the mentor's guide. I just want to say about this freshman seminar, this isn't that old. This is maybe about, 5 years old, is it? So we started this, and then it's a great way for freshmen to partner up with upperclassmen and really get acclimated to the high school. It was a great program. 6 through 8 social studies, Chris Arvando, personal finance lessons have been facilitated by social studies teachers. A grades 6 through 8 curriculum map was made to satisfy the state mandate for personal finance. Classes will move away from the district created resources and will replace these with junior achievement. I'm going to add one other thing, is that, and I asked you this question in the meeting, is that the Malcolm Jenkins Foundation, last curriculum meeting, made a presentation, and there's a state standard for financial literacy through our, whatever. So he had a friend from the NFL who came up with a program that's more engaging to these high school kids and to the families on financial literacy and closing the wealth gap, And Dr. B is going to get it going up at the high school, which is great. So you're using a graduate coming back and financial literacy, and that the kids can relate to. All right. K through 8 science, Dr. Jeffrey Celebri, 7th grade life science frog dissection. I thought this was funny since I'm a scientist. I thought this was funny. Is that has created ethical dilemmas for some students. Students have been accommodated as needed. This year's classes will use synthetic frog dissections for students as needed. This is realistic, but not on an animal, allowing a student to participate without. I mean, I'm old school, and no more formaldehyde smell, I guess, from the. But this was it's a move forward. It's a great way to move forward. And that is, Madam President, Vice President. That's my report. Okay, fine. And then we'll move on to Policy Legislative Committee.
Legislative Committee? Okay.
Okay.
So the Policy and Legislative Committee met on August 1st, 2024 to discuss the various proposed policies and legislative actions. The committee discussed and approved the following policies and regulations for placement on the Board of Education agenda for first reading, all of which reflected updates in terminology or legal requirements since the last versions were adopted. Policy 2200 was curriculum content. Policy 5337, service animals. Policy 5350, student suicide prevention. Policy 8420, emergency and crisis situations. And policy regulations 8467, firearms and weapons. The committee discussed and approved for placement on the board agenda for first reading an amendment to policy 6660, student activity funds, suggested by the business administrator, adjusting the deadline for graduating classes to redesignate donations to the sub-account of another class. The following policies were recommended for abolition to abide by the board as suggested by Strauss SMA. SMA? Is it close enough? Okay. Policy 0164.6, remote public board meetings during a declared emergency, and policy 7231, gift from vendors. The committee discussed proposed policies and regulations 3160 and 4160, physical examinations, and proposed regulation 5200, attendance, which updated the current policies and regulations to reflect changes regarding tuberculosis testing and allowances of an excused absence for students to attend a civic event. Mr. Rubin advised that the administration is still reviewing the options offered in the Strauss SMA templates for these policies and regulations. The committee also recommended that the draft code of conduct be reviewed by the administration to incorporate any changes to the list of excused absences ultimately reflected in the update regulations 5200. Mr. Rubin briefed the committee on two pieces of legislation, a bill signed into law in late June eliminating the basic skills test requirement for issuance of instruction certificates to teacher candidates. The Freedom to Read Act, awaiting action by the governor establishing an orderly procedure for review of complaints about district library books. And also, Dr. Connors noted another recent enact bill authorizing districts to enter into extended contracts and lease terms for electric buses.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. That ends our committee reports. Anybody any questions, or we'll move on? Okay. Next is approval of minutes. Ms. Rivers.
Yes. Be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as submitted. Business meeting July 11th, 2024. executive session July 11th, 2024. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next item is item 12, which is public comments from the floor. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board? Okay, then I'll have to read this first. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and school matters of community interest. In support of this position, the law establishes a period of public comment at every board meeting. Individuals wishing to speak must state their name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes duration, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. The board may require that individuals register to speak prior to the beginning of the meeting. Participants may submit written material in support of their position. All statements and/or questions shall be directed to the presiding officer, and no participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy rights of others whose legal rights may be affected. Please note, while this is not the board's intention to stifle comment on matters of legitimate concerns to the school community, the public should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the laws governing defamation or invasion of privacy, they may face personal liability to the injured party. If speakers are uncertain of the legal ramifications of their comments, the board urges them to seek guidance beforehand from their own legal advisor.
Hi, my name is Dharmi Patel. I live in Piscataway.
Can you spell the
Dharmi,
first name, please?
D-H-A-R-M-I, last name Patel.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank Curriculum Committee for all of their hard work, and especially Mr. Baskerville for GNT program assessment and improvements. I'm not going to go over all the details, but we have been in communication since early this year, and great to hear that there have been some progress. I am so happy to hear. And this is not only for my kids. If I'm not happy with the program, I could have moved to a different program, but I'm not one of those persons. I am always willing to, and doing things not for my kids, but for others. I have one child on the spectrum who is doing extremely well, and now I am support of other parents. Whoever needs help, I just help them. So this is great to hear. I just have only one question. COVID has changed everything. I know the way we connect, the way we do things, all our lives have changed. During the school time, is there anything that we're looking into reduce the screen time, especially during ELA time? What I'm noticing, it's impacting their writing skill and also handwriting. That's something, if it can be looked at, that will be very helpful for everyone, because I know when things happen, we focus on what we need to do at that time to get things going. But now I think we're pretty stable, and that's something. It's just, yes, right now I had one of them in jump ahead and said, every day make sure your iPad is fully charged and come ready. Okay, I understand he's 8, so I have to do that, so I do it every day. That's fine, but yes, I can limit their screen time at home, but it would be better, at least not even if it's school time, if it's a jump ahead program time, they can write more, they can do stuff more, especially with children with special needs, their fine motor skill, writing is very important. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your input. Is there any comments from the administration, or are we on?
I would like to just say thank you, and it's good to see you. Again, I mentioned to you when I saw you earlier, my office will be in touch with you on Monday to schedule a time for you to come in and we can sit down and talk about things further. But as far as handwriting, a lot of things, handwriting has went through many iterations in Piscataway. So when we started getting the whiteboards, we went to using stylus on whiteboards to using handwriting as opposed to using what is called a Zana Blauser books that we used to use. So we went to the handwriting on the whiteboard because we thought there would be a better usage of that. But yes, we understand how important handwriting is, and so we're going to push handwriting now. Normally, cursive writing starts in grade 3, but we're looking at pushing cursive writing down at least one grade more and put it in grade 2, as opposed to having to start in grade 3. So those are some things we're looking at. As far as screen time, doing Jump Ahead, we found that most of the programs in the curriculum for Jump Ahead is on the devices. And so we use a lot of the programs that we use during the school year. They kind of drive Jump Ahead. But we have less screen time during the normal school day than we do in a program like Jump Ahead. So you will find that when you come back to school in September, even though we use our devices in the classroom, we don't use those devices as much as we were using those devices during COVID time. So there's more interaction between the students, there's more cooperative groups taking place, there's more direct instruction with the teachers, there's more small groups, so there are more opportunities away from the actual devices themselves. So, but we can discuss that, and I can just preview the curriculum with you whenever you want to come in, so you can see how we've addressed those things in the curriculum as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Baskerville, and thank you for being here and for your comments. Seeing no one else coming to the podium, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Public comment on the floor closed. Next item on the agenda is item 13, which is fiscal plannings and operations, and that's me. So be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through N be approved as presented. Have a motion?
Motion.
In a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any discussions on items A through N? Hearing no comments for discussion, Mr. Board Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. King?
Yep.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Item 14 is policy. Ms. Stafford?
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A and B be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. Mr. Board Secretary, please read the roll.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Next item is item 15, curriculum. Mr. King?
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through F be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Mr. Board Secretary, please read the roll.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Item 16, pupil services. Ms. Rivers?
Be it resolved that the following motion identified as items A through D be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Board Secretary, please read the roll.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Item 17, administrative and auxiliary. Ms. Stafford?
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through E be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? The only thing I would say is that this is where we're adopting our code of student conduct and also our annual district goals that we had agreed to at the last meeting with the superintendent So, any other discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Board Secretary, please read the roll.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
And before we move on to old business, I just wanted to, read a little bit about this, because often, sometimes, it appears that to our audience is that our actions are taken with very little comment, and most likely with a unanimous vote. But just realize that prior to this, there's been a lot of discussion, et cetera. So it may appear like we're just running through, but the members of the board committees work with the administration through our committees, and when the committees are satisfied, it's presented to the board, and it makes it to the agenda. Okay. Old business. Is there any old business to be brought before the board? I have just a few. In the spirit of continuous improvement, the first old business is that the next and last New Jersey School Boards Association board certification training group session is scheduled for Monday, September 23rd. And then we just have to meet some criteria, and then we'll get from the New Jersey School Boards, every bunch of years we try and hold these sessions so that we're up to snuff on legal matters, financial matters, et cetera. So everybody's been doing a great job attending those. This will put us over the top, our 16 credits, that's great. The second thing is that, that was the only, okay. Any other old business? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Anybody have any new business? I have a couple. The first new business is that in your packet is the fall sports. We all received in our CEO's packet the multiple activity schedule, and everybody should have, carry around in your badge holder, a Greater Middlesex County Administrative Pass. So if you could make every attempt you could to attend games and support our athletic department, that'd be great. The second thing is that, as most of you know, I'm one of the executive state officers of the New Jersey School Boards Association. What was sent to us is that the New Jersey School Boards has a delegate assembly which hears resolutions, so that if the New Jersey School Boards as a whole wants to change its policy manual that it uses to advocate our legislatures on critical issues, that goes through this resolution process to the delegate assembly. If anybody has any issues, we write them up as a resolution and submit them. The deadline's October 3rd for that. And then the last thing that I have for new business is that September is right around the corner. And in your packet was also the back to school night schedule. Every one of us is a liaison to one of the schools. We're all liaisons to the high school and also to Children's Corner. So look at that schedule, and for the elementary, Children's Corner, elementary, intermediates, middle school, management, and what's not in there, we'll wait to do so that we're all saying the same thing. You'll be receiving a script of talking points. So we'll all go out to the schools and say the same thing. And that's all that I had under new business, and that was it. Anyone else? What's that last one? Oh, 20. Wait, what time is it? Adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thanks.